to start by being honest with you. You're watching this because something isn't working. You've tried the programs, you've done the work, you've shown up, and you still feel stuck in the same place. I know that feeling because I lived in it for longer than I want to admit. And I want to tell you what I found that actually changed things. Not as some guru who's figured it all out, but as someone who is drowning the same way you might be right now. My name is Caleb Hayes. I'm from the Midwest, just a regular guy who built a decent life on paper, had the job, had the family, had the house. And somehow, I was emptier than I'd ever been. It was a Tuesday night when my 14-year-old daughter said something to me that I can't unhear. We were in the car, driving home from her soccer game, and I was on a work call. She just looked at me and she said, "Dad, you're here, but you're not here." And I realized in that moment that all the things I was doing right, all the productivity, all the hustle, all the goals I was chasing, none of it meant anything if the people who mattered most couldn't feel me. That conversation stayed with me, and it led me down a path that most people never take because they're too scared to look at what's actually broken. Here's what I have to tell you first, and I need you to hear this because the self-help world isn't going to say it out loud. You are not broken. But you are probably running on programming that was installed a long time ago without your permission. And nobody ever taught you how to actually change that programming. They taught you how to think better. They taught you how to visualize differently. They taught you how to affirm yourself into a new reality. And if that worked for you completely, then you probably wouldn't be here right now. The reason it didn't work the way they promised is because you were trying to overlay new thinking on top of a system that was already running beneath your conscious awareness. You were trying to install prosperity thinking on top of a nervous system still running on scarcity, safety, and survival. Think about it like this. Imagine you have a computer, and you're trying to run brand new software. The software is beautiful, it's powerful, it's supposed to transform everything. But the hard drive is corrupted, the operating system is outdated. There are files running in the background that the new software can't even access. No matter how good the new software is, it can't overcome what's already embedded in the system. That's what's been happening to you. And I'm not saying this to make you feel worse. I'm saying this because the moment you understand it, you realize the problem isn't you. The problem is that you were trying to solve a system-level issue with surface-level tools. So let me tell you what I found that actually addresses the system. About a year ago, I was at one of the lowest points I've ever been in my life. Not because anything external had collapsed. Everything looked fine from the outside. But I was sitting in my car in a parking lot at 11 at night, and I was trying to figure out how I'd become so disconnected from myself that I didn't recognize the person looking back at me in the rearview mirror. I'd been running so hard for so long that I didn't even know what I was running from anymore. The success didn't fix it. The money didn't fix it. The achievements didn't fix it. My daughter telling me I wasn't really there had cracked something open inside me, and I couldn't seal it back up. That night, in that car, I made a decision that I was going to find the actual root of this. Not the symptom, not the surface issue, but the thing underneath everything that was keeping me trapped in this pattern. And I started researching everything I could about how human change actually works. Not how people talk about it working, but how it actually works at a neurological and emotional level. What I found was science that contradicted almost everything the mainstream self-help world teaches you. Researchers have explored topics such as nervous system regulation and heart coherence, and many people are interested in techniques that may support relaxation and overall well-being. Your heart and brain work together in ways that researchers continue to study. Many relaxation practices encourage paying attention to your breathing and heartbeat as part of creating a calmer, more focused state. It affects how people respond to you. It affects what opportunities you're able to recognize and move toward. It affects your own decision-making and your emotional state. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Most of the manifestation and mindset work you've done has been focused on changing your thoughts. Gratitude journals, vision boards, affirmations, positive thinking. All of that is aimed at your brain, your conscious mind. But your nervous system doesn't really care that much about what your conscious mind is thinking. Your response to stress can influence how you feel and how easily you relax. Many people find that calming sounds, mindful breathing, and consistent relaxation practices help them unwind and become more present. This audio is designed to support a peaceful listening experience without affirmations or guided visualization. You'll feel the disconnect. You'll feel like you're faking it. You'll feel like it's not working because it's not working. You're working against your own system. What I discovered is that for me, lasting change wasn't about adding more positive thinking. It was about creating a consistent practice that helped me slow down, relax, and approach life with greater clarity. This audio offers a different way to support that experience. When I found this out, I became obsessed with it. I started studying everything I could find about frequency work, about heart coherence, about how the nervous system actually responds to rhythm and language paired together. And I started experimenting on myself. The first thing I did was take the research I was finding and synthesize it into something simple and practical. Something that didn't require me to wake up at 4 a.m, or sit in meditation for an hour, or do anything that felt unnatural. It was basically this. Many people find that pairing calming audio with thoughtful guidance creates a more immersive and relaxing listening experience than words alone. I started creating audio sessions that use this principle. Nothing fancy, just me, my voice, a rhythm that matched the normal human heartbeat and language. The first time I used it, nothing dramatic happened, but I slept better that night than I had in months, just slept deeper, and my nervous system felt a little calmer the next morning. I kept using it, and over time, something shifted. It wasn't like I suddenly woke up rich and my problems disappeared. That's not what this does. What it does is it shifts the signal you're broadcasting. And when your signal changes, the world around you responds differently. Within a few weeks, I noticed my daughter could feel me differently. I was more present, not because I was working harder at presence, because I wasn't carrying that constant low level of anxiety underneath everything. As I stuck with the practice, I found it became easier to stay present and engaged. Over the next couple of months, I started noticing positive changes in how I approached my work, not because I was doing something different, because I was approaching opportunities from a different internal state. I was recognizing possibilities I couldn't see before. Within 6 months, everything had changed. And the strange part is that none of it felt forced. It all felt natural, like the world was just responding to the frequency I was putting out. That's when I realized I couldn't keep this to myself, because I'd spent thousands of dollars on programs and courses and seminars trying to change my life, and nothing had worked the way this worked. And the reason was simple. It wasn't trying to fight against my nervous system. It was working with it. I started sharing this with people in my life. A friend who was struggling with anxiety, a couple who felt disconnected, a guy at church who couldn't figure out why he kept sabotaging his own success. And the same thing happened every time. When people actually used this, things shifted. But I want to be really clear about something. This isn't magic. This isn't going to make you a millionaire overnight. This isn't going to solve every problem in your life. The goal is to help you step away from everyday stress for a few moments, creating space to relax, reflect, and approach your day with greater clarity. There's a woman named Sophie who found my work about 6 months ago. She was in a job that was slowly destroying her. She was competent at it. She was making decent money. But every morning she woke up with a sense of dread that she couldn't explain. She'd spent a lot of money on therapy and coaching, trying to figure out why she was so unhappy when everything looked good on paper. She used the frequency shift protocol, which is what I ended up calling this work, and within 3 weeks, something had changed. Not in her external circumstances, but in how she felt. The dread was smaller. She could think more clearly, and she started noticing opportunities that had been there all along. By the 2nd month, she'd recognized that she actually had options. She could stay in the job, but she didn't have to. She could move departments. She could leave entirely. She started interviewing somewhere else, and 2 months later, she was in a role that actually aligned with her strengths. But here's what Sophie told me was actually important. It wasn't the new job. It was that she could feel herself again. She said, "I didn't realize how much of me had gone offline. How much of my actual capability and my actual wisdom had just shut down because my nervous system was convinced I wasn't safe." That's why this approach focuses on creating a calming, immersive listening experience instead of relying on positive thinking alone. I want to tell you about another person, someone named Michael, because his story is a little different. Michael came to this work from a place of feeling completely lost. He'd been in recovery from substance abuse for 3 years, and he was working the steps and doing all the things he was supposed to do, but he still had this underlying despair that he couldn't touch. He asked me if the frequency shift protocol could help with that, and I was honest. I don't know. This isn't a substitute for real professional support. But if your nervous system is locked in a pattern of despair, then maybe shifting that frequency could help you access something different underneath. Michael used it every single day for 30 days, and he said something remarkable happened. It wasn't that his depression disappeared, but underneath the depression, he found something that felt like hope. Like his nervous system was remembering that safety and recovery and wholeness were actually possible. 3 months in, he told me he'd started volunteering at a community center. He'd started thinking about going back to school. He'd started feeling like his future was actually open instead of fixed. Now, I'm telling you these stories not to promise you that you'll get rich or that all your problems will disappear. I'm sharing these stories because they're personal experiences, and they illustrate how creating a consistent relaxation practice can make a meaningful difference for some people. If this approach resonates with you, the Frequency Shift Protocol is available to explore today. The Frequency Shift Protocol is something you can access right now. It's simple. You listen to a 7-minute audio session designed to help you relax, unwind, and create a consistent mindfulness practice. Use it daily or whenever it fits your routine, and simply allow yourself to be present with the experience. And over time, your frequency changes, your signal changes, and the world responds differently to that new signal. Now I want to talk about pricing, because I know that's a question you have, and I want to be transparent about it. When I first started monetizing this work, I was charging $297. That was a number that felt right to me, based on the value and the time I had put into developing it. But I started getting messages from people who were following my work, people who were in the exact situation I'd been in, who said they wanted to use this, but they couldn't afford $297. And I realized I had made an assumption. I'd assumed that the people who needed this most would be able to pay the price I'd set, but that wasn't true. The people who are suffering most under a pattern of scarcity are often the ones who have the least access to money for solutions. So I had a conversation with my wife about it. I told her I was thinking about lowering the price, and she asked me a question that reframed everything. She said, "What if you charged what makes it possible for someone working minimum wage to invest in their own transformation?" That simple question changed my thinking completely, because it's not about the price being low. It's about the price removing the barrier. So I settled on $47. That's accessible. That's real. That's a price that says, I believe you deserve access to this regardless of your financial situation right now. $47 one time. No recurring charges, no subscription, no hidden fees. Just one investment and you have access to the frequency shift protocol. When you click the button below, you're going to get immediate access to the core audio sessions. You're also going to get a companion guide that walks you through the exact protocol, how to use it, what to expect as you move through the first 30 days. And for the next week, while this is launching, everyone who gets in is also going to receive 2 bonus resources. A frequency journal that helps you track the shifts you're noticing in your life, and a reference guide that explains the science behind what you're experiencing as you go through the work. That's a limited time bonus offer. Once this launch week is over, those bonuses aren't included anymore. So if this resonates with you, now is the time to make the investment. But I want to be really clear about something. I'm not pushing you into anything. My responsibility is to tell you what I found and what I know works, and then your responsibility is to decide if you're ready to actually do it. Here's my commitment to you. Use the frequency shift protocol for 60 days. Use it the way I recommend. Give it a real 60 days. If, after giving the sessions an honest try, you don't feel that they're a good fit for you, or you don't enjoy the experience, just email me. I'll give you a full refund. No questions, no judgment. You get to keep everything. You can share it with whoever you want. I'm not worried about that guarantee, because I know what happens when people actually use this. I've seen it in my own life, and I've seen it in dozens of other people's lives. But I also want to be honest about the fact that this requires something from you. It requires that you actually use it, that you're not just thinking about using it or planning to use it later, but that you actually press play and let your nervous system recalibrate. Some people are ready for that. Some people aren't, and that's okay. If you're not ready, then this isn't for you right now. But if you're reading this and you feel something shift inside, if you feel like this is exactly what you've been looking for, then that's your signal.
That's your nervous system recognizing something true.
I spent a lot of time trying to think my way into a different life. Eventually, I realized that simply changing my thoughts wasn't enough for me. I needed a different approach, one that helped me slow down, relax, and build a consistent daily practice. The moment I stopped forcing myself to think differently and started building a consistent relaxation practice, I began to notice positive changes in my daily life. Not overnight, not dramatically in the way that people selling miracle solutions want you to believe, but real, sustained, actual. That's what I'm inviting you into. Not a program that promises to make you rich or fix all your problems, but an actual tool that you can use to reprogram the frequency you're broadcasting so that your own wisdom and capability and abundance can actually come through. The button is right below this video. When you click it, you're going to land on a secure page. You're going to enter your information, and within 2 minutes, you're going to have access. Tonight, you could press play for the first time. You could start the process of recalibrating your own frequency. Or you can close this page and continue exactly as you have been. And I want you to know that's a valid choice too. Not everyone is ready for this work. Not everyone feels called to it. But if you're still watching, if you've made it to this point, then I think some part of you knows that something needs to shift. And I think some part of you is ready to actually do something about it. That part of you is right. My name is Caleb Hayes, and I believe that you have everything you need inside of you already. You don't need more information. You don't need another course. You don't need me to fix you. What you need is access to what's already there, underneath the patterns that have been running your life. And that's what the Frequency Shift Protocol does. So I'm inviting you to take this seriously. Invest the $47. Give yourself 60 days. Use the protocol the way it's designed, and then watch what happens when your frequency finally shifts. Click the button. I'll see you on the inside.